It's 2025 and the final Bike of the Month competition on sugarcane.com is over, which means it's time for the December 2024 Bike of the Month results. There were 12 bikes that made the list in December, but I'm only highlighting the top 3 bikes, and we're going to start with bike number 3, and that bike is a standard 125R OS20 BMX race bike. That's right, this bike was done in a two-tone blue and purple colorway, and the chrome-plated parts add a nice contrast to complement the frame's color, which also features chrome graphics. This is a standard OS20 frame, so you already know that the quality of this frame is top notch. That's right, Standard makes some of the best frames in the game, and their OS20s are no lesser. Understand? No lesser, professor. Now, the only thing I might have done a little different on this build to really make it pop is I would have made the rims the same color as the frame. But that's just me, that's my opinion. But let's see what Brandon had to say about this bike. Brandon said that this is the second custom OS20 he's done with Powers Bike Shop and Standard. The inspiration for this one is the Galaxy Rust profile hubs and stem. When the Galaxy Rust color became available again, Brandon had to build a wheel set and build around it. He goes on to say big thanks to Chad and the Powers crew. And I personally want to give a big shout out and big up to Chad Powers for his contributions to the sport and all his success with Powers Bike Shop over the years. Shout out to you, homie. Now, some of the other highlights for me on this bike, besides the frame and its custom color, are the polished DXR cranks. Now, you can't go wrong with DXRs. These are like the industry standard for professional BMX racing. There's also the rainbow titanium spokes that match perfectly with the Galaxy Rust color theme, and it can also go great if you had the rims with the Galaxy color and the spokes, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Anyways, you also have the Profile Elite hub with the Galaxy colorway, of course, and then the polished Paul Moto brakes. I really like those polished Paul Moto brakes and how it matches with all the other chromoly parts on there. 12 people gave this bike a rating, giving it a total color score of a 9.14, parts 9.21, originality 9.11, overall style 9.28, giving it a total rating score of a 9.19. Next up is bike number 2, which is a custom vintage BMX inspired WH Bradford monoshocker 26-inch cruiser. Yup, that's right, the Yamaha inspired monoshocker 26-inch cruiser. This frame is completely custom welded and it looks like so much fun to ride, for real. It's a modern day vintage inspired BMX bike that features a banana seat and a 2-piece monoshock frame design. It also has that classic yellow Yamaha colorway and the Yamaha inspired graphics, and it really makes this bike pop. It's a really cool nod to the vintage BMX bikes that were inspired by those vintage motocross bikes. I'm also really digging that there's some modern features on this bike, like front and rear disc brakes, tapered head tube, and those brake levers. You don't really see front and rear brakes on the old school BMX bikes. They usually had the cassette brake that you pedal backwards and you brake like that, so that's pretty cool seeing that. I also like the bottom-up booster forks for the new vintage style. It wasn't listed on the parts list, so I'm not sure if it's actually the bottom-up fork or if it's like a custom welded fork. Bottom of forks to that extended fork that goes past the dropout, which is really cool. And finally, I love that he put some big knobby tires on the bike to complete the look. But most of all, out of everything on this bike that I'm really feeling, is I love the fact that Mike actually races with it. He brought it to the Dirty Fest in 2024 and got some fresh photos of himself getting busy on the bike. So it's not a carpet queen. It's not a static bike that's just going to sit there and look nice. He actually took that bad boy to the track and got busy on it, and that's what's really cool. And it's really cool to see a bike like this with the banana seat and everything as a 26-inch BMX cruiser. So Mike says that the bike was built for a trail fundraiser in Nevada City, California. It was themed after a vintage Yamaha monoshock BMX bike. And that's all he had to say about that. Now, for my personal highlights on this frame, I mean, like, the whole bike is basically one big highlight for me. From the custom 2-piece frame, the rear suspension, all the profile Paul and Chris King parts, the custom banana seat. Not only is this bike my favorite build of the month, it's definitely one of my favorite builds of 2024. And also, you know what else? It's got rear suspension. It's got rear suspension, and it don't have no front suspension. The bike has rear suspension, no front suspension. It's 26-inch. What we gonna call that? It's a BMX bike, right? So what does that make a 26-inch with front suspension? Especially if it's made for dirt jumping. We call that a dirt jumper, right? It's a real gray area that the mountain bike community made to separate themselves from BMX because everybody associates BMX with kids' bikes. That's a whole different topic for another video, but I wanted to point that out. 26 people gave this bike a rating, giving it a total color score of a 9.11, originality 9.6, parts 9.36, and overall style 9.51, giving it a total rating score of a 9.4. And now for the number one bike based on user ratings for December 2024 is a Supercross SX 250 35th anniversary prototype. You got the multicolored parts, you got the colorful Supercross graphics on this one, and the chrome plated frame, fork, and seat post. Notice how I didn't say handlebars, because them handlebars are a totally different color. This bike has a lot going on with it. I love that classic BMX race bike look with the modern day geometry and technology involved with it. And this bike has some finer details when you take a closer look at it. This bike was submitted by Josh Campbell Joe Randall, and here's what he had to say about this bike. He said Bill Ryan of Supercross BMX gave him the 35th anniversary 6-bar prototype frame and hooked him up with some other rad Supercross BMX Speedline parts earlier in the year. Bill thought it would be cool to build up and showcase the frame at Dirty Fest 2 and felt Josh was the man for the job. The first thing that came to Josh's mind, besides how lucky he was to have the best sponsor ever, was to build it up with top-notch iconic parts from the 3.5 decades Supercross BMX has been around. Now this is just a piece of Josh's inspiration for this build, and you can read the rest of his inspiration on sugarcane.com. Not only did Josh give an extensive inspiration for his build, but he actually put in a full parts list, and I'm loving that. A really full parts list. He didn't leave no stone unturned when it came to the parts list. He went in. And since this is the number one bike of the month, I am going to read the list of the parts that he has on this bike right here. Starting with his 2024 Supercross BMX 35th anniversary SX 250 prototype frame. He's got the Supercross SX 250 Pro forks, Speedline Elite BMX stem with Speedline titanium bolts, Speedline integrated headset, Speedline aluminum headset spacers, Answer Alumilite Pro bars, ODI long neck grips, ATI's Arrakis donuts, VG brake lever, VG bar ends, classic bomber number plate. He also has a bomber number 2 on the plate, Supercross Tiger T sprocket, iBMX cranks with titanium bolts, which Josh says are all handmade. He didn't use no computers, there's no CNC work. His manual mill doesn't even have an auto feed, so he was hand cranking the table and drawbar the whole time he was putting those cranks together. And that feature right there is another reason why it's one of the top bikes, is because not only is it a 6-bar Supercross frame, he also custom built his cranks by hand, so you have to give him props on that. Odyssey Black Widow pedals, Odyssey internal bottom bracket, KMC half-link chain, White Industries freewheel, VG flower frame saver, Speedline chain tensioner with Speedline titanium nut and bolts, Supercross E-line plastic pivotal seat with Speedline titanium bolts. You see he's got a lot of titanium on this bike, you know, it's those little details, man, that's really important. VG seat gut clamp, chromoly seat post, iBMX router seat post clamp with titanium bolts, Odyssey Pitbull brakes, VG boomerang, Scott Mathauser super brake pads, Diacomp clear brake cable, Kavachi hubs with titanium lowly axles, TNT aluminum nuts, USA brand titanium spokes, Spline drive aluminum nipples, Odyssey T1000 rims, Trick Tops 8-ball valve caps, and Supercross Blue Streak tires. My man went in with the list and let us know everything he had on his bike. There's so many cool little details to this bike, especially the titanium and the custom cranks. And he also has that really unique seat post clamp that works with the Pitbull brakes. This bike has a lot going on with it when you take a closer look. And this bike was real popular last month because 73 people gave this bike a rating, and they gave it a total color score of a 9.38, originality 9.46, parts 9.49, overall style 9.45, giving it a total overall rating score of a 9.45. This bike also got 19 comments, which makes it one of the most commented on bikes of 2024. So big shout out and congrats to Josh for his win for December 2024 Bike of the Month on sugarcane.com. Well, that wraps up 2024 Bike of the Day, Bike of the Month, but not Bike of the Year. Not Bike of the Year. I'm actually doing an episode where I go over the Bike of the Year, so that's coming up. I want to say thank you to everybody who submitted bikes and made this year's list of bikes awesome. And actually, before I wrap this up, I got to give some honorable mentions to some of the other bikes that were featured in December, like the awesome 2024 Chris Mean Mother submitted by Steve Ewart out in Australia. The new Chris Mean Mother is really dope, and I love the two-tone colorway he had on that bike. There was also the super color coordinated 2023 Chase Element Pro Cruiser submitted by Donna Lobler. I really like how color coordinated that bike was, so big shout out to Donna for that one. That beautiful 2022 I Am Cook 20-inch submitted by Jacob Jansen. I think out of all the I Am Cooks that was submitted, that one was like one of the best looking ones. It may just be the pictures were really good. That bike looks so clean in those pictures. He really did a good job of presenting the bike. You know, that presentation, man, the presentation means a lot, and he had that bike looking really fresh. And the mint condition classic 1999 GT Speed Series submitted by Nicholas Mondon. Man, that bike right there, the way he had that bike looking, it was super fresh, really nice looking bike. Looked like it came right out the box. And yeah, man, I just like the lines and the curves on it. It's funny because when it came out, I wasn't really feeling that bike, but the way he preserved that bike now and the way it looks now, I think it looks really cool, man. You know what I'm saying? So let me know in the comments below what your favorite bikes were on this list, which bikes you think should have been in first place, because I'm sure not everybody's going to agree with the list. So definitely come back, leave a comment, and let us know what your favorite bikes were from December 2024, your top 4, or even if you go back to sugarcane.com, check out all 12 bikes and give me your top 10 bikes that you see on that list for December 2024. I will put a link in the description for that article so you guys can go right to it. And coming soon, like I said before, I will be doing the 2024 Bike of the Year episode, so stay tuned for that. But now it is 2025, and I'm looking forward to see what bikes you guys submit to Bike of the Day this year. We already have a couple that was sent in already. I'm trying to knock out one at least every day or maybe every other day, depending on how many you guys send me. But I definitely want to see more BMX bikes, a nice variety, you know, not just race bikes. I want to see some flatland bikes, some street bikes, some dirt jumpers. All right, so this is Crazy Out Kane, sugarcane.com, Crazy Out Kane on YouTube, the whole 9 yards. And if you guys want to like and subscribe, definitely do that so we can spread this around, get more people involved, get more people voting and rating. And that's pretty much it. You know, I got more stuff coming. Stay tuned, keep it locked, hit that notification button so you can know when I drop something new. And that's it. All right, I'm out of here. Back to you, Billy. It's 2025 and the final Bike of the Month competition on sugarcane.com is over. And I said it all crazy. This is a standard OS 20 frame, so you already know that the quality is off the It's a modern day vintage inspired bike that features a banana seat, 2-piece monoshock frame design. The bolt